Hey guys, thanks for stopping by the channel. I'm trying to bring lab coats back for the summer, but seriously, this is actually what I used to wear back when I did university research. But thanks to the DIY Watch Club, I got to don this lab coat again because thanks to them, I'm a partial watchmaker. But seriously, so the DIY Watch Club contacted me a couple months back, and they wanted to see if I was interested in trying to assemble their D02 Dive Series watch with the blue Fume dial. And with full disclosure, they did send me this watch for free. That's probably why you might see includes paid promotion tag on the intro to the video. They did not give me any money, but I did not have to pay for this kit. All that being said, if you guys watch this video and you're interested in picking them up, I am going to link to their website in the description of this video. The specific kit I got typically ranges around 400 Canadian dollars. You can actually typically find between 15 and 20% off of their retail price around the web, so be sure to do that. And you get the full watchmaking kit with the tools as well as all of the watch components needed to assemble the watch that I'm going to be showing you guys today. So in terms of actually structuring this video, in a minute I'm just going to flip the camera around and you guys can see my point of view perspective for actually attempting to assemble this watch. DIY Watch Club does estimate between 2 to 3 hours and a very moderate difficulty level to assemble this dive series. And as you guys will actually see, I am not the most dexterous person out there, and it was a little challenging for me, but I did enjoy the experience. So after that portion, then I'll actually talk a little bit about the actual specifications for the watch and give you my concluding thoughts on whether or not you should consider picking up one of these do-it-yourself watchmaking kits in the future. So guys, as we actually go through the watch installation process, the DIY Watch Club does a very good job laying out the steps with YouTube videos, and you have to sign up and become a member to gain access to this. But these are basically the steps I'm going to follow throughout the course of this installation and review. So first step here is to remove the supplied case. Take out the crown and take off the case back so we can install the movement and the dial. Okay guys, so part 2 is to actually remove and inspect the movement here. Okay guys, so I'm going to attempt to pull out the crown by pushing down here on the movement. Okay, so now I'm going to try and install the crown and stem tube that came with the watch with the DIY logo on the side of the crown here. So now we actually have the DIY crown on the Seiko NH35 caliber movement. Alright guys, so we now have the DIY diver's dial here, and the next step is to take this dial and try to install it on the top of this movement here. And it looks like the dial has been set okay. Alright guys, so the next step is to actually use this plastic movement holder to fit the dial snugly into place here. So that looks to be about correct from where I'm looking at it. Okay guys, so the most cumbersome part is going to be installing the hands for this diver. So I don't know if I'm going to catch this on camera or not, but the first thing you're supposed to do is pull this guy out all the way to the time setting function until the date actually turns over. There you go. So I'll try and capture this on camera, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to actually get the hands on here with the camera rolling because it's extremely difficult to do. So I think I got the actual hour hand on there. Moving on to the minute hand. Here's the minute hand. And I'm going to try and set it up at 12 o'clock position just like the hour hand here. Alright guys, so it took some doing, but I finally got the minute hand here onto the dial. And now for the hardest part where you need to install the seconds hand. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera, but that is the very thin needle seconds hand that I'm going to try and install. You can see now that this is just resting on the dial, but now I need to actually apply some force to put the seconds hand onto the dial with the rest of the hand stack. So in case I forgot to mention it earlier, the tool you need to actually apply pressure to the hands on the post of a dial is this guy here. With this black tip, it's slightly larger, the opening where you can press down, so that's how you set your minute and hour hand. And then for the seconds hand, you use this finer tip, which is the white portion of this tool here. And you just apply pressure straight down until you feel it get tight enough, and then you just check the alignment afterwards. So some bad news when I actually went to dust off the dial after I installed the seconds hand, it kind of blew away. And the other one, they give you spare hands in case you do mess it up. The other one was severely bent, so I don't actually know that this watch is going to have a seconds hand, but if you look, the hour hand and minute hand tend to have proper alignment on it, so we're just going to move on to the next steps because unfortunately I don't know that I'm going to kill more than another hour or so trying to find the seconds hand that blew away. So this is the chapter ring for the dive watch, and it should align onto the top of a dial. There are some feet here on the bottom, so I'm going to try and line that up now. So there's the chapter ring lined up with the indices on the dial, hopefully. Okay guys, so I just quickly removed the crown from the watch again, and the next step, we're getting close to finalization, is to actually just take the movement holder and the dial and insert it into the case. This case already has a metal spacer in it where the chapter ring lines up, so it's just a matter of making sure that the alignment of a dial goes into the case properly. And the best way to check this too is to take the stem and loosely fit it back through the case and into the movement. And if there is any issues, it will become apparent. As you can see, I can actually set the time okay. And I hear a winding, so that's a good sign. Now, one other thing is that DIY did give me a custom engraved rotor, so I'm actually going to try and swap out this rotor as well before I add the rubber O-ring and seal up the case back. So guys, here's the custom rotor engraving that does say Everyday Watch on it. So the trick is going to be unscrewing the old rotor which I'll loosen on this guy here, and then putting this guy on. So we get a little bit more customization for my watch. Now I'm going to take our rubber O-ring gasket here and just place it back in. Okay, looks like she's all assembled. Test it out, give it a quick wind. Let's just get this guy. Just switch the date. There you go. Quick date set check works. And it does screw in, the crown does screw into the case, which is awesome to see. So I'll throw this on the strap and then we'll get into the actual wearing experience and review portion. Alright guys, so I have been wearing this watch for the past few days and it is quite comfortable. I mean, you did obviously see that I did not execute the watch completely, but for me it's still actually a very wearable watch. Now in terms of the basic specifications for this watch, starting with the case dimensions, this watch is very much like a Seiko diver, and in fact it's very Seiko compatible with its components. Coming in with a case diameter of 41.5 millimeters, and then flipping the watch to the side, the lug to lug, or the wingspan between my thumbs, is about 47.7 millimeters. The overall case thickness is around 14 millimeters, and that includes the bottom of the mineral crystal display back to the top of a very slightly domed mineral crystal as well. And then you do have a lug opening of 22 millimeters for the supplied strap. The bezel itself is a 60-click coin edge style bezel with pretty good action for the price point and not really any backplate to speak of, and again the alignment is good. The supplied rubber strap for this watch I really enjoy actually. It's quite comfortable. It has a very good length for my wrist size, and the buckle is quite substantial, nicely brushed, and has the D logo on it. And then if you look on the underside, it's nicely vented, and it does actually have quick release spring bars on it as well. And then taking a look at the case back, of course, with the display mineral crystal, you can see the custom engraving everyday watch on the rotor, although if I'm being honest, it's not overly visible unless you look at it from certain angles. I'll give you guys a quick wrist shot of this watch as well. It does sit very comfortably on my 19 centimeter circumference wrist. That's about 7.5 inches if you're looking at the imperial measurement. And I do think that the case does balance well on the wrist, and the supplied strap does keep it there and is quite comfortable, especially during the summer. Now the overall legibility is actually quite good as well. I do like the silver surrounds and the indices. All of the indices and the hands are lume filled. And also I was surprised that the entire bezel insert is also lumed. You get a nice blue glow with some BGW9 application, and low light legibility and orientation is very well on point for the price point. And I will mention, with the loomed bezel and some other components, again, very Seiko compatible, so I like how they did that. If you want to mod it in the future, you can also order different colorways, dials, hands, and straps from DIY Watch Club if you're interested. So in terms of pros, I did really enjoy the opportunity to actually try and assemble my own watch. I'm not going to lie though, at times I did find it quite frustrating, but it made me appreciate the hobby a lot more, and especially also give me a greater appreciation of what watchmakers have to do. The tools that come with the kit are very useful, and in fact I will be using them in the future when it comes to things like having to remove a case back on other watches or swapping out straps. And in terms of the YouTube video tutorials, I found the production quality of those videos very high, and the videography was very well laid out when it could have easily been very quickly put together. So I do appreciate the in-depth tutorials that you get to watch and replay at any time you like. And then for the price point, I do find that the components you get are actually pretty good components, and things like the case finishing and the strap that came with this diver were also pretty good. Now, if we stay on the price, that could be a segue into a potential con, because you could probably buy an equally spec'd or in fact better diver at this price that's already pre-assembled from like a micro brand or on the gray market. But I do think you have to factor into the value, the overall experience of doing it yourself. I liken this experience to any other hobby that you might have where you like to customize certain things. I know for me in the past I used to like to make my own desktop computers, and I would buy all the components separately, and it would on average cost about probably 5 to 10% more than what you would get at a big box store. But I enjoyed knowing exactly what components were in my machine and the process of putting it together. Now, who do I think that this watchmaking kit is for? Well, I think it's really good for a budding watch enthusiast who's just interested in seeing what the mechanical components of a watch are. So in that respect, I do think it would be a potential good gift option for certain people. Or even someone who's not really into watches but just likes to tinker with things. This might be a gateway into them becoming a future watch collector. But all that said, I think also if you're a very seasoned watch collector and you're just more interested in trying to put something together with a little bit more customization, you can definitely go this route and be very happy with the end product as well. But guys, do keep in mind again that the price will be a little bit more than just buying a watch straight out. And also, if you live in North America or Europe, do anticipate paying duties or sales tax on top of that. That is laid out on the DIY website, but I do want to make you aware of that cost as well. But taken together, I do appreciate that DIY reached out to me to try out one of these kits. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the description of this video. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.